and Cam had another recent public back and forth?
I didn't have nothing. I don't want people to think I'm going back and forth. I'm just telling my truth. You heard?
Right.
And in terms of me telling my truth, if people feel they need to have a rebuttal or whatever they got going on, let them do it. This ain't a battle. People know this is not a battle at all.
Is it still a brotherhood? Is it still family?
Nah, it definitely ain't no brotherhood.
Definitely not.
Definitely ain't no brotherhood. It been not no brotherhood. You heard?
And it's not fixable.
We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. You ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. I put you down. Because you had a free crib.
He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally, he had one.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, he really like that.
Before she died, Cameron's mom looked him in the eye and said, "That man is gonna try to kill you." And she meant Jim Jones, the man Cam called brother. Not a diss or industry beef, but a real-life warning. And now, everything she saw coming, it's happening. 50 Cent warned us. Max B tried to tell us. But nobody thought the biggest threat to Cameron's life would come from the inside. So what did Jim really want? Cam's crown? His life? Or just revenge for a past he couldn't let go of? Y'all know the beef and tension between Cameron and Jim been simmering for years. But now sources say that Cameron's own mother, Frederica Giles, warned him, loud, years before she passed, that Jim Jones was planning to take him out. And what's wild? This ain't just anybody talking. This is the one woman who knew everything about Cam's life. If you know Cam, you know Frederica wasn't just his mom. She was part of his come-up, his sound, his whole spirit. He spoke about her in interviews, rapped about her, and showed up with her. Cameron often gave fans some insight into his close relationship with his mom, Frederica Giles. So, when she said Jim had bad blood in him, that was no drama, but a damn warning. And what she said hits different now, because if you really zoom out, everything lines up. 50 Cent saw it. Max B lived it. They both been calling Jim jealous since way back, and nobody wanted to hear it. But now, it's like the fog lifted. 50 even said it himself during that convo with Cam on It Is What It Is. He detailed how Jim moved during the Dipset versus G-Unit era. He said Jim wasn't even a real rapper, but wanted the power and the boss role.
Jimmy was not a rapper then.
Right.
He was your man, like on the side, like in the side, just he was not a rapper at all.
Right.
But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, he really like that.
And when 50 invited him on stage during a full-blown war with Cam, Jim stepped up like it was his shot at the crown. And the thing is, Jim been playing that long game. Folks thought it was just sneak disses, awkward interviews, maybe a little tension over money or press. But this man went on Rap Life Radio and publicly said there's no brotherhood with Cameron.
Is it still a brotherhood? Is it still family?
Nah, it definitely ain't no brotherhood.
Definitely not.
Definitely ain't no brotherhood. It been not no brotherhood. You heard?
And it's not fixable.
After everything, the albums, the history, the battles they survived together, that one line told everybody what time it really was. No brotherhood means no line Jim won't cross. And if Frederica was already clocking that energy years ago, who else been ignoring the signs? Now folks bringing up Max B again, and they should. Max was deep in the mix when Jim was getting his first hits off the ground. And what happened? Max got cut out, underpaid, and iced out. Max always said Jim was a snake, that he used people and sold illusions. Everybody thought it was sour grapes. But now, with Cam getting these shots thrown his way, Max looks more like a prophet. And speaking of shots, let's talk about that DC incident, 2005 when Cameron was shot. Cam was in DC for Howard's homecoming. He's riding in a Lamborghini, and suddenly, two masked dudes roll up on him at a red light. No warning. They try to hijack his car. Cam says no and gets shot in both arms. He managed to drive himself to the hospital, bleeding but alive. Now back then, the media tried to paint it like a robbery gone wrong. But the hood never bought that story. Felt off. Felt too direct, like it had nothing to do with the car and everything to do with sending a message. According to Associated Press, Cam'ron's shooting was not a car hijack. And now that Frederica's words are echoing in folks' ears, that DC shooting looks like something else entirely. Because if there was real smoke behind the scenes, if Jim had envy in his mind and movement in his corner, who's to say that hit wasn't connected? Now nothing been proven yet, but word is Cam surviving that carjacking wasn't just luck, it was escape. And maybe the first real clue that somebody close wasn't playing fair. Cause envy don't always yell. Sometimes it waits. It waits for a moment, a slip, a gap in protection. And maybe that's why Mama Cam said what she said. Maybe she saw that switch flip in Jim before anyone else did. Maybe that red light in DC wasn't random. Maybe it was the moment Cam was supposed to go out, but he didn't. And now all these years later, it's not just old wounds reopening, it's everything unraveling. Now Jim Jones out here moving like a man who's been carrying the same grudge since 2004. Still trying to rewrite a story the whole block already knows. And folks ain't even sugarcoating it no more. They calling it like they see it. Jim's bitter, loud, and 50 years old, trying to act 23. One dude hit hard in the comments saying, "Dude is told old to still be this childish. If it wasn't for Cam, he'd be selling chopped cheese in Harlem and weed. No skills, no education, not a kingpin, just another dude trying to live his rhymes 40 years too late." Word is, Cam gave Jim a plan and purpose in rap. And instead of walking that path with respect, he spent the next 2 decades trying to outshine the man who lit the torch for him in the first place. That's not hunger, but betrayal. Jim was never built for the throne. He just wanted to sit in the seat. And now that the truth is leaking, folks calling him what he is, a Judas, a second string trying to lead the team, a grown man who got taught how to rap, and now throwing shots at the teachers. Even Jim has admitted that Mace and Cam taught him to rap and showed him the way.
You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mace like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. Literally. He taught you how to rap. You say it.
And Mace helped me learn how to actually learn how to rap. Mace showed me how to rap. Mace actually showed me, he was the first person to show me how to rap. Mace actually sat me down and showed me the magic to rap.
The math ain't mathing. It looks like Jim basically just came out and told the truth about his real intentions. And when you look back, the shade, the side switching, the passive-aggressive interviews, yeah, it's been there. We just didn't want to believe it. But now it's loud. People keep bringing up that moment when Jim aligned with 50 Cent. Remember that? When Dipset and G-Unit were locked in a full-on war, Jim goes running to the enemy, cheesing on camera, acting like it was nothing. But to real ones, that was the day he showed his hand. Cam saw it, 50 saw it, the whole culture saw it. And 50, being the master manipulator that he is, played Jim like a pawn. He knew Jim had envy in his chest and loyalty in short supply, and he used it. That's why folks are saying, now what 50 said back in the day finally makes sense. It wasn't just beef, it was a spotlight on how quick Jim was to flip when the shine wasn't on him. Fast forward to now, and nothing's changed. Jim's still throwing subs, still puffing his chest out, still trying to convince the internet he's that guy. But the streets know, the fans know. One comment said it best. "Jim, you got cooked enough, bro. How you gonna act like some type of boss when who brought you in the ones who taught you how to rap LOL?" Sounds like facts. There wouldn't even be a Jim Jones the rapper without Mace sharpening his skills and Cam handing him the blueprint. Now he's online dissing both of them like history forgot? Nah. Folks remember they're watching. And remember that goofy boxing challenge. Jim Jones, a grown man, gray in the beard, calling out Cam'ron to a $10 million fight? That's not hip-hop. That's desperation. That's a man so hungry for attention that he'll burn what little legacy he has left just to trend. And the wild part? Cam ain't even flinching. He's too busy building, running sports shows, securing real deals, dropping freestyles with bars that still shake the industry. Meanwhile, Jim's out here yelling into mics, trying to stay hot while the whole block's gone cold on him. Even fans who used to rock with Jim heavy are jumping ship. One said straight up wrote, "I used to be a fan of Jimmy, but this corny video is just so whack. Team Cam all the way." Funny thing is, Cam getting way more money than Jim trying to stay relevant. That's the theme. Disappointment, disbelief. Watching a man unravel in real time. Jim ain't just aging, he's regressing. competing with ghosts, beefing with his own past, chasing validation from the same crowd that already crowned Cam as the one. And let's be real, Cam never needed to yell, never had to beg for flowers. He earned his in every verse, every wave he set off. Jim, he's still trying to prove he matters. There's even talk about Jim's image being more smoke than substance. That's heavy, especially when you line that up with 50 Cent recently calling Jim Individual One, a not-so-subtle jab suggesting Fed ties. And 50 don't say for nothing, so when he circles back, posting old Dipset pics and mocking Jim's music, it ain't random. It's a callback, a warning. The same way 50 exposed Jim in 2007, he's doing it again in 2025. Because nothing's changed. And now that Cam is winning without even mentioning his name, the bitterness is leaking from every Jim interview. The jabs don't hit, the music don't move. It is becoming evident that Jim's whole career been about covering something up. Lack of bars, growth, and humility. And their online community been loud than ever, calling Jim's the backstabber, the one who turned on Mace, the one who ran to 50, the one who's now dragging Cam into weak disses and staged beefs. All for what? Clout? Streams? Relevance? Meanwhile, Cam's legacy is leveling up. One user put it bluntly, saying, "Ain't nothing real about that. That's the epitome of being a fake." He basically came out and finally told the truth about his real intentions. That's sucker a Judas. It makes that 50 Cent make sense now from back in the day. Another wrote, "You look stupid, Jimmy. Act your age, bro." Let's be clear. This ain't hate. This is mourning. Mourning what Jim could have been. He had the cosigns, the energy, the lane, but he wanted more. He wanted credit he didn't earn, respect he didn't keep, and now he's out here fighting shadows, shouting into the void, wondering why nobody's clapping back. Because there's nothing left to clap at. Jim didn't just betray a man, he burned down the very legacy that gave him a name. And what's wild, he still wants back in, but the fans are gone. The bridge is ash, the bond, long dead. Cam's moved on, the world moved with him, but Jim, he's still out here, circling the ruins, trying to rewrite history like we didn't watch it happen. And now the question isn't if he'll try again, it's what he'll destroy next, just to feel relevant.